People with Mercury and Gemini are possibly some of the most interesting people you'll ever meet. Hola my beautiful lotus flowers, welcome back or welcome to my channel. If you're into nerding out on everything astrology, spirituality, and self-transformation, this is the community for you. Today we're talking all about having Mercury in Gemini, and what this means is at the exact moment you were born, the planet Mercury was moving through the zodiac constellation of Gemini. This is not the same thing as having sun sign in Gemini, so if you're here because you have a Gemini sun, then you're in the wrong video, I'm sorry. But if you're not quite sure what the energy of Mercury entails in astrology, then I will have a pre-recorded introductory portion to Mercury at the beginning of the video. After that, we're gonna follow that up with talking about general traits of somebody who has this placement. Then we'll finish the video with a couple empowering tips if you have this placement, or if you know somebody who does. Watching that portion of the video might help you know how to add more positively to their life, so be sure you're staying tuned for that. For a brief introduction to the planet Mercury, in case you're not familiar with it. Mercury is considered the quote-unquote messenger planet in astrology, ruling over thought, communication, how information is mentally processed, our intellect, routines, and our mental instincts. Mercury is actually the ruler of two zodiac signs, both Gemini and Virgo. Gemini is an air sign and Virgo is an earth sign. Wherever Mercury is at in your natal chart will tell you how you express yourself in regards to what Mercury rules over, such as how you communicate, how you think, etc. But it is very important to pay attention to whether Mercury was retrograde at the time you were born, as this can definitely alter how you express your Mercury placement. And the way that you identify that is there will be a little RX symbol next to your planet. If you're looking at a birth chart that provides this information, you'll see a little retrograde symbol next to this planet symbol, and that will tell you if it was retrograde at the time you were born. This can manifest for so many different ways for so many different people, so I won't be talking about if the planet is retrograde, but a lot of times the traits I talk about, a lot of opposite traits can manifest for this person. Like, for example, say the Mercury placement usually makes the person really good at communication. Well, if it's retrograde, then there's potential that maybe you struggle a lot with communication instead. So keep that in mind. Now for the general traits of somebody who has Mercury in Gemini. First and foremost, it's important to remember that Gemini is the mutable air sign ruled by Mercury, symbolized by the twins. Number one, this person has a near infinite amount of mental energy that can bleed over into their daily interactions and choices. Mercury is known as one of the quickest moving planets, having the tendency to speed things up and add stimulation to wherever it goes, especially in regards to communication and the mental process. When we have Mercury in Gemini, Mercury is actually at home because it rules over Gemini. Now, in the Mercury in Virgo video, we mentioned that Mercury is exalted in Virgo, basically meaning that it's in a very harmonious position for Mercury's energy to be channeled. This is partially because Mercury rules over Virgo as well. However, even though Mercury is home in Gemini, it is not exalted. The reason being that when Mercury is in its home earth sign, the earth element adds a level of groundedness and practicality to an otherwise flighty planet. But with Mercury being in its home air sign, there isn't much to hold it down and keep it grounded, even though the energy is still technically strengthened and can be channeled positively. With saying that, having Mercury placed here can give this person an unlimited amount of mental energy. It's probably likely that their brain is always moving, always active, always on to the next thing, and almost insatiable. Because of that, it's oftentimes that this person can be quite intelligent and sharp, and they're always thirsty for knowledge, and they have this bright curiosity, and it can almost never be satisfied. However, because of that, these individuals may not always seem like they're intelligent or sharp to the naked eye, just because they move on to things so fast and they can be so all over the place and want to take in so many things. They want to talk quickly, they want to act quickly, that they can kind of lack the ability to slow down in order to actually process information. So even though they may be taking in so much information, or they might be very sharp in that regard, they can lack that ability to slow down to actually retain things and listen. So it's highly likely that this person forgets a lot of what they say, or they may forget what you say, or they weren't even listening in the first place. It gets really chaotic in their brain. Number 2, they're probably some of the most witty individuals you'll ever meet, being able to adjust their mind quickly to every situation, emotion, and interaction. Gemini is a mutable sign, meaning it's highly adaptable. With Mercury being placed here, we have someone who is mentally ready for just about anything at any moment. This is definitely a huge strength for them because it gives them a higher chance at overcoming any situation they might be faced with. Perhaps there are unexpected situations that many other people would become really frustrated by or become fixated on, but it's likely that a Gemini Mercury has already moved on, thought of a response, or thought of a solution as soon as it happened. This can also be what makes them amazing at being the ultimate social chameleon. They're oftentimes very good at adjusting to their social setting, their social environment, however they see fit. And it doesn't matter whether somebody with this placement considers themselves introverted or extroverted, oftentimes that ability just becomes very natural to them. But that doesn't mean it doesn't become exhausting for the Mercury and Gemini. Again, whether they're extroverted or introverted, whichever one they pull more towards, this social adaptability can be exhausting just because it feels almost like they can't help but entertain those around them, or they can't help but use humor, or they can't help but be playful when that's not always how they want to be. They don't always want to give someone a response. They don't always want to talk to certain people, or they don't want to engage in certain activities, but it's kind of like their mind runs away from them. Like I said, they may not want to talk to someone. They may not want to think. Like their mind is always going, like running and running and running, whether they wanted to or not. And it can always be thinking about the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, even though the Mercury in Gemini does not want it to. I have known people personally who have this placement, and that's one of their biggest exhaustions is, they're like, oh, why did I say that? Why did I tell them I would do that? Why did I ask that question? And especially if this is battling with other placements, if there are other more subdued placements that kind of want the person to slow down, it can really battle with that. It can be hard for them to slow their brain down enough to actually slow the rest of their nervous system down. And Mercury is highly connected to the nervous system, especially with Gemini. So the nervous system can be very active, and that can be another reason that it's hard for them to quiet the brain. So this seemingly bright sociability that they have, it's often very instinctive, and it's not always their conscious preference. Number 3, this person is probably very inquisitive yet youthful in their own way, having an insatiable, somewhat childlike curiosity toward all the possibilities in life. Gemini is an air sign. The air signs are known for being connected to intellect and communication in different ways. Gemini is also considered the youngest air sign because it is the first air sign we come across after we enter a new astrological year. So Geminis tend to showcase this in their energetic, youthful traits such as having a somewhat childish sense of humor, an undeniable playfulness, and endless curiosity. For Gemini Mercury specifically, this person often wants to know as much as they can about life, and they probably hold a lot of random information on a lot of random topics. And they're probably willing to share all of them with you if you'll give them the time of day. The beauty of this trait is that oftentimes people with Mercury and Gemini will be like an open-minded advocate for so many different things. And it's not unlike them to kind of showcase this open-mindedness through their style. Again, they have this curiosity, this youthful energy, and when we think of youth, we think of people that are okay with pushing the boundaries, being different, doing things differently. So, they might have quirky things in their style that other people don't really do. They might actually unintentionally set trends or be ahead of trends because they kind of push the boundaries in their style. But, that may showcase itself on the outside for them, but definitely their brain is full of pushing the boundaries just because they're so curious about so many different paths and so many different possibilities in life that they don't often limit themselves or become too fixated on one idea or one belief. And the way that they love sharing this open-mindedness with other people is through mentally stimulating conversations. It wouldn't be unusual at all for a Mercury and Gemini person to really enjoy debates because of this, especially because their mind moves so fast. Their mind is almost perfectly equipped for a good debate. Their only downfall might be that they are just so excited to speak their mind before you even finish your side. So whether they're actually listening to your side of the debate or not can be questionable sometimes, but they definitely are down for a good witty banter, debates, maybe even arguments. I feel like this person would really meet their match potentially if with like a Mercury and Sagittarius. If you're enjoying this video so far, be sure you don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos like this one, and so this video can reach many other people just like you. And leave a comment down below if you have Mercury and Gemini or you know somebody who does. I love to know who's watching. Number 4. Gemini Mercury has the ability to see and understand just about any perspective. Gemini is symbolized by the twins, which are meant to represent the often dual nature of Geminis, somewhat similar to Piscean duality, but less otherworldly. Tying into the previous point about this placement being open and curious about many paths in life, they are not only curious, but truly able to understand many perspectives that may be unthinkable for others. A lot of times you won't find a Gemini Mercury sharing a strong, stubborn opinion, and if they do, but you're able to offer them a good alternate way of looking at it, they'll probably be open to it and be like, you know what? That kind of makes sense. This duality can sometimes make it difficult for them to have a definite stance on anything, as they can always feel open to different directions and can definitely carry a strong fear of missing out as well. So sometimes stagnancy can occur because of this, where they stand still, going back and forth in their head rather than actually taking action. Now, a couple tips of empowerment for somebody who has Mercury in Gemini. Number 1, it's a good idea for people with this placement to figure out how they can break things down into sizable, digestible chunks. As mentioned before, their mind can be all over the place and always racing, meaning these individuals often have challenges around their attention span. Because of this, it can be extremely difficult for this placement to slow down enough to think about the bigger picture and how to plan towards that. More times than not, if they do think of the bigger picture, they'll instantly feel overwhelmed and as a result may become indecisive and stagnant. One way to help combat this trait is to break any goals or tasks down that you have into very sizable small chunks and focus on one little thing at a time. If you are a Mercury and Gemini and you try to plan out your whole year or set yearly goals or maybe even planning out the month, can be a little bit too overwhelming, and you'll find yourself quickly falling off and not setting out to do what you wanted to do, right? So the best way to do this is, first off, you're going to know what works best for you. Everybody watching this video, even though you share the same placement, you're all still going to be different. So this will be different. But if you find that even just planning out a week is too much, then just take it day by day. That's all you need to do. Just break down your day, or even just break it down to one small task a day. Just one task that you need to get done to help you towards your goal or the things that you've been needing to get done, whatever it is. Any responsibilities you have, break it into one task at a time. And you can even go further than that and break down your time as well, not just the day. So like, if you have one task that you set out to do and get done that day, just one, but it still seems daunting because it's a task where you have to sit down for 3 hours or more or less, whatever, but it still seems like too much, then break down your time into little digestible increments. Set a timer for 30 minutes and then take a break for 30 minutes for an hour, then come back 30 minutes, do whatever works for you. But if you have this placement, then it will be important to have those short little chunks of time and planning, so that way you don't feel overwhelmed and you don't just fall into stagnancy again because of that. Because the big picture can really seem so out of reach for this placement, but it's honestly those little the tiniest actions are what compound into that bigger picture that you see for yourself. Number 2, relating to the previous piece of advice, this person may be prone to impulsive or reckless actions for the sake of instant gratification. Because they aren't usually good with the bigger picture, and because they crave so much stimulation, it can be easy for them to resort to things that give them instant excitement in some way, even if it's damaging for them in the long run. It's important for this person to become wary of this tendency so they don't find themselves in situations that could prove detrimental later on. If you know you tend to do this, ask yourself frequently how this serves you and what the consequences of it could be. Then ask yourself if it's worth it. But also, do not completely deprive yourself of those little guilty pleasures that you enjoy in life. As long as they're not illegal, super dangerous, or hurting other people, then as long as you take the previous advice to actually plan your time, even if it is just day by day, then when you plan, that actually frees up more time for you to do things that you enjoy. So I know as a Mercury and Gemini, you probably have a lot of lighthearted, guilty pleasures that you enjoy, and you just want to fall into them all the time, and you want to negate responsibility for the sake of diving into these pleasures. But no, there has to be a balance, and you can find that balance more so if you're scheduling out your time. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos like this one. And comment down below if you have Mercury and Gemini, or you know somebody who does, or just comment your Mercury sign if you have nothing to do with this one. And you can head over to the LaBlue Lotus Facebook community where we talk more about using astrology and spirituality for self-transformation. But if that's not enough and you want a more personal side of my journey here, as well as additional content, you can head to my Instagram at Marisa LaBlue. And until I release a new video, you can watch these ones that will help you so much more on your astrological and spiritual journey. But until I see you next time, thank you so much again for being here. Adios.